there, this is Vahid from VR Education channel, and it is the fourth session of creating GUI for Python application automatically with just one line of code. Today, we're going to continue our discussion on SimpleGrid, a new widget that I added to this library recently. And the main functionality of this widget is to show the list of objects inside our classes in a Qtable widget with pagination capability. In addition to loading data, you're also able to edit scalar type values such as string, double, integer, boolean values, but you're not able to edit complex type objects such as lists, dictionaries, or other objects inside the main object. And I mentioned that I'm going to create another widget named Advanced Grid to support these functionalities, and also place annotated widget for this property in Qtable widget. I did it to some extent, but in the middle of the process, I realized that it's better to add CRUD functionality to SimpleGrid, and rather than having two widgets for one purpose, it's better to have one complete and also user-friendly widget for this purpose. So I added this functionality to SimpleGrid, and I'm going to check it very soon. And also, another thing that I'm going to cover in this session is the functionality for clearall option in the list and table. Instead of pressing delete button for all items inside a list, if you want to delete all items, I added clearall options to list and tables. So let's see a demo for Advanced Grid that I created in a very short time, and then go to VS Code and check SimpleGrid new functionalities. In previous session, I introduced a new widget inside this library. Its name is SimpleGrid, and the main functionality of this widget is to help us showing a list of objects inside a class on a dialog. I also attach pagination capability to this widget, so you can use it easily just by one properties to enable it. And then you can divide data into different pages and go through them with these buttons at the bottom of the widget. By using SimpleGrid, you can edit scalar type values in a grid by double-clicking that cell and enter what you want instead of the current values. And for complex types such as a phone and extra info, you cannot do the same thing because you need to open a dialog to show the content of these cells. So I disabled it, and I mentioned in previous session I'm going to create another widget named Advanced Grid to be able to load data inside this table widget using widgets, not a Qtable widget item. For example, for a number, if I annotate the related field with Q progress bar, I can add some progress bar on the table widget. Or if I change it or annotate this field with Q slider, you can see all the NOs filled by a widget Q slider, and also with a label for that. I developed this widget, and in the middle of the process, I think again about the SimpleGrid, and I come up with another idea to add some capabilities about deleting, editing, and adding items to the SimpleGrid instead of creating another widget. So I'm gonna tell you how you can use these functionalities with SimpleGrid in the new version. So let's go to VS Code, and let's clear this part. Again, we have the person class, and inside this class I only add one private field, addresses, a list of address object. And also, to get access to this field, I create a property and annotate it with the SimpleGrid as the main widget. So it means that if I want to create a GUI for this class using pyqtgenerator, I should realize this field with SimpleGrid on a dialog. Let's do a little cleaning here. I'm gonna get rid of these input parameters. I don't need it anymore. I change it to 35 also, and I should delete them from here. And again, the main focus of this library is to let us create GUI for object from one class with just one line of code, this line, and also bind the object to that GUI or that dialog in a two-way automatically. So the only thing that we need to call from this library is this line of code, and then again show it or do another thing that we may need with the dialog objects. And also I made a change to address class. In address class, in constructor, I created two branch. If I provide something as a city and it's used for demonstration, I just used it to initialize some fields in a predefined way. So you can see the result in a grid. For example, city 1, 2, 3, 2, 35, because it's initialized with some predefined methods. And if I want to add a new address item, so I created another way, or I branched it in the constructor. I just initialized the field with some predefined values. For example, empty string for string values, 0 for numeric values, and also empty list for phone, and also an empty item object, or an instance of item object for extra info. And again, I create property for each of these fields and annotate it with the proper field values, with the proper widget also. For example, for city and street, I use qline-edit. For postcode, I use qspinbox and the others. So these changes made in comparison to the previous version. Now let's run the application and see the output with the new SimpleGrid widget. In the new SimpleGrid version, I added two options in each row, delete option and edit option. The functionality is obvious, and also the pagination is the same as before. And here we have another functionality to add new item to this grid. I will check them one by one. First of all, let's see the delete functionality. If you want to delete a row, and this is also necessary when you work with tables, you want to delete item from the list. Here we have 4 different operations that it names CRUD: create, retrieve, update, and delete. Create, retrieve is the item that we show here, and update and also delete. So let's check the delete, the last one. If I press the delete button, it show a confirmation dialog, and you can use show dialog. In this part, you can see the string representation of this object. So this is just the data that I just concat them in the done_jar method. And if you press no, nothing happened. But if you press yes, the first item deleted from the grid, and one item added to the end of the list. And if you go to the last page, here only we have 4 items. So let's go to the first page again, and I'm gonna delete all the rows till the number 10. So I'm gonna delete this one, also this one, and this one, and also I'm gonna delete 9. So now when I delete the 9, the page count reduced to 3 because I removed 5 items. And now in the last page, I have the city with the 35 caption as the end or as the last items. So this is the functionality of the delete. So let's edit items. I'm going to change it to a city, my hometown city, Shiraz. I'm going to change it to st1. And also I add a couple of icons instead of text for these buttons, and it gets a nicer look and feel to the forms. So, and also if you want to clear all the items inside one list or table widget, you can expand this button and use clear all. Now all items gone. So I'm gonna add another phone. Yeah, and also change it to, for example, 11. If I press OK, you can see all the things change inside this item. Let's add something inside the extra info. Sample 1, 1, 1, 1. Okay, and you can see sample is shown here. So in this way, you can go through the object inside another object infinitely. Okay, this is the main benefit of using this edit action in each row instead of creating advanced grid and things like that. So if I press OK, you can see the first item changed to Shiraz st1 and the related things. After that, 3 is gone. Also 5 deleted, 6, 7. Maybe I forgot to delete 7, or I just delete 8 instead of 7, I think. Yeah. And at the last we have 35. Okay, so this is the functionality for delete and edit options. Now let's add one item to the grid. So we can use plus sign. An empty form will be shown. So we can use this form to enter data. For example, Shiraz ST1, postcode 1, phone 2, and an 03. And I just jump over extra info. If I press OK, nothing happened in this page. But if I go to the last page, you can see another item added here, Shiraz ST1, 1, 2, 3. And you can also edit it and add another item here, for example, sample. Press OK, and the sample is now in the extra info. So if I press OK, if I go to the last, you can see after 35, another item, Shiraz ST1, 3, 1, and the others also added to the list, to the final list. So this is how you can use this SimpleGrid to edit, add, or delete item from one list. So let's change it to another thing. I'm going to demonstrate some boundary check. Always try to use boundary check in your application. These are very important. I'm going to add only 3 items to the list. So if I forgot to save it. If I run the application, we have only 3 items here. And if I add another item, for example, AST, QWE, 1, 2, 3. If I press OK, the 4th item added to the list, and if you save it, you can see after 3 we have AST QW item at the end because I added it recently. Now if I change it to 10, or if I change it to 11, for example, I have one full page and one page with just one row. So if I delete one item here, you can see the page changes, the navigation buttons disabled because I only have one page here. And if I pressed OK, here after 9 we have 11, not 10. 10 deleted. So let's run it one more time. What if I go to the second page and press delete here? So because there's no item in the second page, the thing's also updated, and we go back to the first page and the navigation button also get disabled because we have no other page. We only have one page. If I add another item here, for example, AST QWE 1, 2, 3. If I press OK, again I have another page here, so I can navigate to that page. Yeah, this is the item that I added right now. And if I go back and delete, for example, number 8, this item gets into the first page and the navigation button disabled because there's no other page on this data source. If I press OK, you can see after 7 we have 9 and 10, and after that we have AST, QWE, and etc. So this is the functionality I added to SimpleGrid, and it's necessary to have it to delete items from a list, add item to the list, or edit existing item in a list. Also, the pagination works as before, and also I just fixed some minor problems with the navigation. And I hope you test this library and tell me the things or issues that you faced during your usage, or the things that you need to add to this library, and specifically to this SimpleGrid, because it's I think one of the most useful items or widgets in programming when we are dealing with data, especially list data. This grid gonna help us a lot. And in future I'm gonna add filter option to this grid. For example, you can filter the grid based on the city or a street, or you can combine them. So in the first row of each page I add a couple of widgets so you can enter data based on the object types. For example, for NO, that is numeric, I'm gonna use the widget that you mentioned here in the annotation of the setter for that specific field. For example, For number, I'm going to use QSpin box or a slider, anything that you mentioned here, and you can use it easily to filter your data or filter the list. And also, for example, for combo box, for the field that comes from a combo box, I'm going to add a combo box in the filter, so you can select it from a combo box, and you don't need to type it. This is the next step in SimpleGrid compilation. So I hope you enjoyed this video and also this library. Let me know your opinion in the comment section. Till the next session, goodbye.